So let us start with one of the most important relationships in all humankind, and that is the relationship between father and son. And throughout your writing, your work, this has been a relationship that has a relationship which has brought great pain, great joy, obviously the great respect always that a son has for a father, and it must have influenced your creativity, your thinking processes in many ways. So if you could start that, obviously your father had a very different trajectory set out for you. And you said that when Nishan came out and he saw the poster, that was one of the first times where he was happy and congratulatory. But yet, the nature of the relationship still seemed disturbed. Could you tell us something about how this relationship sort of has made you during those periods from 75 to the present day?
It's really funny. I never realized how much of how important he'd been in my life until I started writing about him. When he was alive, I have to say that he and I didn't care for each other. We had no time for each other. We had nothing to say to each other. And I don't know where this happened along the way, because I was the youngest, and the youngest are always the most pampered. So I'm told. I can recall things from very early childhood as well. And then somewhere along the way the relationship went sour. It could be something to do with my academic achievements, because in kindergarten and class 1 to 2, right up to class 3 or 4, I was among the best students. And then it started plummeting. And the nadir came when I stood 50th in a class of 50 in class 9. He was deeply disappointed. He could not imagine a life beyond the conventional choices for any of his children. He would have dearly loved me to be a doctor, and I told him that I can't study those fat books for 5 years. When I decided to do a drama course for 3 years and a film course for 2 years after that, he said, "You're going to study this bloody acting for 5 years? Why doesn't I study medicine?" He could not comprehend at all where I was coming from. So
When did the tussle start, if at all? Did you ever reply back? Were there fights, or were you always just retreated?
Only once I dared not reply back. He was the most authoritative person I've ever met in my life. I don't think I've ever been as terrified of anyone ever in my life as I was of him. And the funny thing is, he never was physically brutal. He never hit any of us. But just that look from above his reading glasses was enough to freeze one's blood. So I used to crib and confide in my mom, who also didn't understand, but took my side unconditionally. He tried his best to do whatever he could to make me toe the line. And that's an important lesson I've learned when dealing with my own children. That you've got to love them enough to let them go. They're going to do what they're going to do. I did what I had to do, and he tried everything in his power to make me do what he wished me to do. Could be my natural feeling of rebellion against authority, my natural dislike, or I don't know what it is, fear. So a whole lot of things that drove me to this. Because I found no satisfaction in being what I was.
When you were thinking about the relationship, did you at any point harness it or nurture it as part of your capitalization, the way you took your action, or was it always in the background and never ever brought to the foreground?
I don't think anyone can define where are certainly influences which, which have happened by osmosis over the years. But they never got a point. I do know that while playing the part in Gandhi, which was about Gandhi and his son, I could look at both points of view quite objectively. I could see what my dad was about, and I could see what my children were about, because my son asked me, in fact, "Hey, Baba, what would you do if you were faced with a dilemma like he was faced, where he wanted to send, he was asked to send the brightest pupil to become a barrister abroad. His son was hoping he would be sent, but he wasn't. He chose another boy who he thought was brighter. I think my father would have done that. I don't think I would.
So, obviously one of the most painful periods, but at that time we were oblivious to it, was when Eva was born and your daughter with Arvind. And there was a distance because you were a 21-year-old young person wanting to become an actor. The way you write about it is brutally honest, truthful, but it must be, now looking back, as you said, deeply painful. And was that also to some extent influenced because of the relationship you had with your father, you felt? Or it was just, you were in your own world and you just couldn't handle that part of your responsibility?
I shut myself off from the responsibility for many years, but kept coming back. And I think I made the same blunders with Hiba as my father, worse perhaps blunders than my father made with me. I just ignored her completely. I was not fond of children. I mean, I don't think any 19, 20-year-old is. They're messy, they're noisy. You wish they'd shut up.
Donald Trump,
You can't say anything charming, huh?
Donald Trump wants to, anyway.
Oh, he kisses the child and makes it cry. I think he's, in his head, I think he's a little less than 20.
Did these things affect your creativity without you specifying?
I don't know.
You don't think so?
No, I'm sure they did, but I can't specify in where.
Fair enough. So then let's move to, one thing I noticed is that your father, someone like Jeffrey Kendall, then someone like Al-Qazi, then someone like Taneja, who was your acting teacher at FDII, then obviously Om, who was one of your colleagues and also an inspiration, and then Sham. You've got these very, Satyadev Dubey, you've got these very amazing personalities who entered your life at different stages.
Yeah, all surrogate fathers.
Yes.
They all fulfilled a little bit.
So if you could go one by one, obviously someone like Jeffrey Kendall, his passion, his dedication, taking Shakespeare to India, and you wrote a line about, that's what I really wish to do, be this man dancing on the other side of life, carefree, exactly on my terms, and sharing it with the world. That was a great inspiration for you?
Yeah, looking back on it, that memory is something which is almost transcendental, because it was a kind of a premonition sent to me, is what I feel. Because I must have been 2 or something, but it's difficult to believe, but I do have this very, very distinct memory of this man on a platform which seemed as high as the sky, with this garishly painted face and these incredibly hypnotic eyes, who was dancing on that platform, and I was completely hypnotized. And I still remember the feeling that ran through my body when I looked at this man. It's a memory that stayed with me. I don't know what part it's played again, but certainly it has. And to go a little further into your question, I think something very interesting and funny. When I say that you don't know where the influences come from. I was playing Gandhi in this play, and a very old friend of my mom's came to see it. And she herself was about 80, 85 by that time. And after the play, she hugged me and said, "You were wonderful. And you reminded me so much of your mother."
चल रहा है